Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, I'm here with my really good friend Ryan from My Best Life Paraguay. He is another YouTuber that also, well, leads a similar life to me out here. Basically, we grew up in the USA and we moved to a Latin American country. Now, he has a bit of a unique story because he actually happens to be from Paraguay, but he grew up in Wisconsin, and he has a really cool story and how he grew up there and then basically ended up in Paraguay and started his channel. And again, sharing his story of what it is to live abroad, and sharing his again his adventures, his misadventures, and everything in between. So he reached out to me a couple weeks ago and said, hey, Jose, you know what I mean? I enjoy your channel. Would you like to do a collaboration? Would you like to do an interview? And I'm like, of course, I would love to share your story because, again, as you guys know on this channel, I don't only just talk about moving to Mexico. My own personal story is, again, I ended up in Mexico. Again, I'm a Cuban American, and again, I had my own situations in the USA, and I ended up in Mexico. I moved out here to Mexico for a better life, and now I make videos encouraging anyone out there that's also had a rough time at it in the USA these days, and or Canada or wherever you're from, and you want a better life for yourself. You want better quality of life, and again, there are options out there, and one option is Mexico. Another option is Paraguay. And again, this is why we got Ryan on. And without further ado, you guys already know I can go on and on and on. So I'm going to give the microphone to Ryan and let him talk about again everything about him, his story, his channel, and how hopefully it can also help you out there in the audience. So Ryan. How's it going, brother? Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you. Can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, thanks. Of course, my dog would start drinking water. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on the channel here. Yeah, just before I get into all my stuff, I just want to let your audience know that I got a lot of respect for Jose, and his channel, his work, and most in particular his story. Right. I mean, he had a lot of adversity, especially in those years leading up to Mexico, and I got a lot of respect for that. And he kind of had you had an option to stay in the U.S., kind of go downhill further, unfortunately, or make it to Mexico and see what you could do there, and make a life for yourself. So, and there's actually exactly what you did. It's inspiring. I found Jose's channel 9 months ago, and at that point, I had already gotten Paraguayan residency, permanent residency, because I am born there. I do have a birth certificate there, familial ties, and I'll get into my story in a second here. But so after residency, I came back, did a couple of YouTube videos. I met Aaron Akihua, who Jose actually interviewed for his channel about the process of getting Mexican residency as a Chicano, right? And then so Aaron showed me your channel, and I was inspired to take the next steps, get the plane ticket, get my dog to Paraguay, do all the necessary things. And then I decided to move down here right when my lease was up in the US at the end of July. So now I've been here. I actually just crossed 100 days, so a little over 3 months. And yeah, so I wanted to mention that off the bat. So yeah, I got a lot of respect for this guy right here. If you guys don't know Jose's story, go check out his stuff. In fact, I'm gonna do an interview on my channel right after this. So his whole story will be on my channel. So just in
Hey,
case.
by the way, thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. To me, sometimes I don't even look at it like that. I just look at it more like, hey, I was just trying to survive, and I'm so happy that I've been able to help out so many people, and we're continuing, to help out so many people out there. So again, shout out to you, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I guess I'll take my story. I'll do like kind of two separate things. I'll tell kind of my more life story, and then I'll get into like specifically the last couple of years of why I made the move. So I was born in '91. That makes me 33 years old right now, and I was adopted from Paraguay in 1993. So when I was 2 years old, I lived my whole life in the U.S. Went to college in the same state I grew up in the Madison, Wisconsin, And yeah, I did the whole the whole struggling after college thing, office jobs, etc. Then the pandemic hit, and I was in a longer term relationship at that point, and in 2022 that kind of that did die out, and so I was actually before all that. Well, okay, here I'll tell this part. So that died out, and so I was like, look, I kind of want a major shift in my life. I don't really want to keep doing the same thing I've been doing in the US, the whole office stuff, the whole cubicle Carl stuff. I was like, man, this like inflation was hitting hard. My rent just got raised. Student loans came back. So I was just like, dude, fuck this. Like I literally got a raise, and then fucking everything said, fuck you. You didn't get a raise. You know what I mean? So I was just like, man, oh my god. So I was just like, dude, the economy is destroying me. Like I can't buy a house. I was looking at condos, and even those were just like shooting up 50, 100, 150. Like simple condos, nothing too special. uh, you know. So I was just like, man, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing
Yeah,
it.
and by the way, and this is in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, this is Madison, Wisconsin. Nothing too fucking fancy, and not Chicago. um, yeah. So anyway, so I met my family in Paraguay 12 years ago in 2012. I did the search. We hired a trabajadora social, a social worker down here. She did the legwork. She met one of my family members, eventually contacted my mother. And the way that it works is, at least for this process, is you look for your birth mother first because you don't know that if anybody else exists, right? So I did that. Ended up finding that she was alive, and then that also I have few siblings as well, a sister and a brother, and actually another brother I don't know, and another little sister I don't know, even to this day. So I came down here the next year, in 2013, and wait, no, I found him in 2011. Came down in 2012. And then, so yeah, so we had all those Disney moments of reunion, reuniting, all that stuff. But there's a lot of difficult moments too, to say the least. And even to this day, I'm very much involved in my family's lives. It's kind of like acquiring a whole new family overnight, literally. So that was the whole reason why I've been down here. And since 2012, I've essentially I have tried to come every single year, sometimes even twice a year, when I've been able to. So over the years, I've gained experience in language, knowing the culture, and I've never really stayed in like the downtown area, which is where a lot of people stay. I've always stayed with family, even from the first trip, just immediately staying in houses, my sister, my aunts, or whatever. So I got the full blown version of Paraguay off the bat. Any Spanish I sucked at, like I was learning, along the way. So yeah, so I already had a deep love for my country, right? And so I always thought like, okay, well, I'm gonna move here one day. I already knew that. Like I was just like, yeah, it's probably gonna be 40s, 50s, maybe 60s, retirement age, something like that. But so life circumstances like led me to say, hey, let's get here now, ASAP. I'm not doing another long winter in Wisconsin. It's like our winters are like 5 months long, like just like pure cold. And yeah, so I got did the steps to get my dog here, myself here, taking care of business back home, and then before coming here. um it wasn't a Jose Arteaga situation. But and I say that with all respect. It's so like for example, like I have this place paid off for an entire year for about $5,000. This is a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. I got a nice place in the back, in the front
By the
area
way, $5,000 for the year, right?
for the year.
For the year.
Yeah, that it ends up being 376 a month. And because I paid for a year, I got 5% off, so that's why it equals out to be 376. Otherwise, it would have been closer to 400.
Yeah, but still, yeah. And so, how long have you been in Paraguay already?
About 100 days.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Oh, wow. Okay, really? Okay, so yeah. Like,
three and
well,
a
I
half.
mean, again, you've been going there for years, but officially, you moved there, yeah, just 93 months ago. Wow, cool.
Mhm.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful here. I reconnect with family, do all the Paraguayan stuff. I got a asado video on my channel.
Yeah, so real quick, I
Um,
want just the last interruption here.
sure.
Yeah, so please, guys, if you want more information, go check out his channel, all right? Because on his channel, I mean, that's where I got a little background on him as well. He tells his completely full story, as his adoption story. He shows videos like I show videos. He'll go on trips and he'll show you how what Paraguay looks like. The asado video, you guys were out, you had a barbecue, you went to the store, you were showing people, what things cost out there, all that good stuff. Because, at the end of the day, what we were talking about earlier is that there's a lot of people that are looking into leaving the USA or Canada or Europe or wherever they're at, and they're looking for better countries, better situations out there, and a lot of people. There's so many people that hit me up and say, "Oh, but Mexico's so dangerous, and Mexico's horrible, and Mexico's this," and it's like, great, okay, go to another country, don't worry about it. But the other countries would be like Paraguay. You don't have to go to Thailand. You don't have to go to the other side of the planet. You can stay in the same kind of hemisphere, right? And Paraguay is nice. I mean, I was looking at some of the videos. I was surprised by wow, how nice Paraguay was. So
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so for people who are looking for a change or, the lower cost of living, especially, I mean, that's the one thing that we all have in common, no matter what kind of familial ties or non-familial ties you're gonna have. Like I cut my costs, whew, man, at least probably like a fourth of what I would be paying. Somewhere in between there, a third, fifth, whatever. And yeah, I'm living a way better life. I was stuck in a very tiny apartment in the States. My dog has, he can run in the back, front, wherever he wants now. And I would have never, I mean, I was talking to a friend back home for like a duplex like this. Yeah, I am renting for the first year. Maybe might purchase it at some point. I don't know yet. I'm actually helping to sell the other side too. If you guys are interested, 80K. Anyways, go on the channel, check that out if you're interested. I live in a working class neighborhood, so I don't live in the fanciest areas. But I mean, like Jose was saying, Asuncion has just, man, it's shot up. It's one of the healthiest economies right now, and there's high rises going up. Everything's being modernized. That wasn't even the case 12 years ago. It's like mostly in the last 5-ish, 10 years. So in fact, just a little bit of history about Paraguay. We had the longest dictatorship in South American history, Alfredo Stroessner, for 35 years. So from the 1950s all the way up till 1989, essentially right when the Berlin Wall fell. Right. So like after that, Paraguay had a fighting chance to actually be its own country again. There's still corruption, and all that. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but
it's Latin America, right? I mean,
yeah, it's Latin America. You're not going to escape that anywhere, especially the U.S. I mean, the U.S. is just as corrupt, if not more. But anyway, we're not going to go down and talk about that. So, so in Paraguay, I mean, it's just, I mean, my dad was down here a year and a half ago, and he was just absolutely just amazed, stunned, and everybody is who comes here, especially the downtown area. Like, man, and you can live a great life down there, like life of de lujo, of luxury. You know what I mean? And you would never, in your right mind. I mean, this place right here. I mean, I consider this luxurious. I don't even have stuff on the walls yet, but you know, I mean, what are you gonna rent for under $400 a month? And I don't even need this other room. This other room is just for guests, and I have a whole suite, in the back. And I mean, never in my life could I have afforded this. And oh yeah, my guy was telling me, oh, you're talking 3,000 in the States trying to rent something like that. I'm like, damn, dude, yeah, you're right. That's 6 times over. No, more than that, damn near 7 times as much. So I mean, I don't know. It was just making sense on paper. It was making sense. It was making sense in my heart. It was making sense in pretty much any single way that you look at life. um, and yeah, so I'll do consultations with folks too who hit me up and want to know more about Paraguay, whether it's more about the economy, where to live, dating, what to do, where to go. I mean, whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, and I also have tons of information on my channel that's just up for free. I do very long videos. I only truly have like 34 videos, and just hit like 600 subscribers. So if you guys want to subscribe and help brother out, that's awesome.
Yeah, please, please, go over there and subscribe. Especially if you're gonna go over there and watch the interview that he's gonna do with me. Assuming
Yes.
you haven't already heard my story multiple times. You're interested in that. But at the end of the day, to me, the story that you have, that I have, is not as unique, anymore as it used to be. I remember many years ago, the only people that would maybe live abroad, somebody's gonna go retire, and they were adventurous already to begin with, or again, like they used to say, I'm going bamboo, I'm leaving the USA, and everybody always thought they were nuts. But now these days, it's not like that at all. It is completely different, and especially for us, as Latinos, there's so many people, so many Mexicans that are now, starting to move back, a lot of other Latinos that are, again, like, for example, I wish I could have moved back to Cuba, but, I don't know, there's a situation going on down there. It makes it a little difficult for me to go out there. So my second best option was Mexico. And again, there's Venezuelans, there's, Haitians, there's so many other countries out there that are in a very similar situation. But, again, in your case, you're Paraguayan, you went back to Paraguay. But again, I know friends, that are from Costa Rica, that are in Nicaragua, right? That are, all these places. And, that's the whole idea. That the idea is that, for, a lot of people in the USA that are Latinos, believe it or not, we have a way out. There's countries that we can go to and live in. But for Americans, Canadians, Europeans, as you were saying earlier, people from Australia, right? You got people from Australia that hit you up. For them, it's more difficult trying to find a place to land. And so, when I was looking at the videos of Paraguay and I was looking at, the way it looked, I was like, man, this place is nice, kind of like where I live, nice and calm and chill and, just everything, like everything that the dream that we all want at some point, just to live in peace, right? To live in, have a higher quality of life, and just to live una vida más sana, right? A healthier life. And so that's the thing. And so, for some people, Mexico might be too noisy, too this, too that. Maybe Paraguay might be a better spot, right? Right? What do you think?
Yeah, well, that's actually funny you bring that up because Aaron brings that up. Like, yeah, but, any video he sees of mine is like, yeah, Paraguay seems a little more chill than Mexico.
Yeah.
But believe me, we get our weekends cracking too though down here. Like my neighbors, they'll like. But actually, I was just in my sister's, where most of my family lives in Capiatá, and she was like, "Oh, es una competencia entre vecinos." Like,
Yeah.
por su
Okay.
música. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a
Competition to see who can get to throw the loudest party, right? Okay.
pretty much. Yeah, man. And it was, but that's just stuff. Whatever, man. Like,
Well, I
it's,
want to ask you a quick question. Okay, so what separates Paraguay, from other countries out there? Every country is unique and they have their thing. Look, I'll be honest. I kind of knew where Paraguay was on the map. I looked it on the map real quick, a little bit, just to make sure, before we started doing the interview and things like that. But I was very wrong. I thought that it was mountainous and it was up in the mountains and it was up in, because again, the Rocky Mountains, Argentina, that whole area. So my dumbass mind, I thought, hey, that's what it was. But then you quickly corrected me and said, no, you guys have the similar climate to Yucatan. So it's
yeah.
hot, it's humid, it's it's great. In that sense, if you like that kind of weather. But besides the weather, can you talk a little bit more about Paraguay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, just actually to touch on geography because it is important. So a few things about Paraguay. Yeah, we're not in the Andes. The Andes will flow north towards Peru, Ecuador, and even Bolivia. So we are in the lowlands, right? The low country, very similar climate to Florida. Kind of swampier, very what do I say? Humid as well. Very hot. In fact, I think it's the hottest country in South America. So yeah, that's for a lot of reasons that might turn some people off, but I'd rather go through a hot summer than a cold winter. So, literally, and winter's coming up in the U.S. here. So, yeah, and actually, a few more things. Geography. We're river people historically. We're Guarani. And to answer your question too, what separates us from other countries? We are a bilingual nation. So even the moment you get off the airport, you're going to see Guarani and Spanish and everything. And kids learn it from the time they're in kindergarten all the way up, but they're learning it from their families anyway.
So
So
Is Guarani like the local language or?
Yeah. It was oppressed in the dictatorship, but it made a rebirth again, and people still spoke it. You know what I mean? But it's taught in schools, but it's taught by your family, and the mix is yopara. So like if you watch my family videos, the ones that I don't cut up too much, you're gonna hear like, man, what the hell? Like I can only understand like half of what they're saying, or whatever, you know. So yeah, Guarani is a process. It's a very hard language, but because it is an official language, we have a great respect for our indigenous ancestry. Like I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, I do too personally, but it's in every single part of our society, even down to our respect for nature. It's I mean, one of the greatest places on earth if you want to be close to indigenous culture. Uh, it's yeah, the government might treat indigenous folks not well, but like your average person has respect for their history, their culture, their language, etc. But going back to the geography thing, actually, a lot of people don't know this, but uh, underneath Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil is the largest water reservoir in the world. It's the Guarani Aquifer. So there's a lot of fertile land here, right? And you can literally dig wells. And I have this in one of my videos at the animal sanctuary I did with the interview with Armin, an Armenian American living down here. You can dig wells straight down. You're going to get water. I mean, you can't even do that in most places in the states, especially not in the Southwest or in northern Mexico. That's for sure. Uh, but yeah, so very rich, like agriculture wise. It's actually one of the things I tell people to invest in, is agriculture. Don't do no crypto. Don't stick it in some corporation in Asuncion. Like that's just the same shit you're doing back home. You know, invest in like old school stuff. The old school stuff works down here. And another thing I will say is that we share the Itaipu Dam. It's the second largest in the world behind China's dam. But it's an agreement between Brazil and Paraguay that both countries get to use the energy. So our energy bills are extremely low, and our water bills are extremely low. I'm talking like, extremely low.
Well, I mean,
So
yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because you live in a very hot country, and to me, that's besides rent, my highest bill is the electricity bill because I have, I gotta have the air conditioner on, and it's not cheap. So for you, it's actually cheap then, cheaper,
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
more
and
affordable.
if you're really worried about living not leaving a big ecological, what do they call it, environmental blueprint. This is one of the best countries in the world to do so. Like it's literally the river produces the energy, and the energy just flows to us, and we have to pay it. But
Yeah.
so yeah, in that regard, like things are. I mean, it astonished me. My first energy bill was man, like, what was it, like $20 or something like that.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, maybe not even that.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
use air conditioner there a lot. I'm correct, right? Or
yeah, we're not in the hottest months.
right, right, right.
Even in the hottest months, I mean, I don't think I'm paying more than 30, 40.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I know in the Southwest, ooh, man, you guys pay like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I know you're not
Yeah,
like
yeah, in the
that, but
Southwest. No, well, no. I mean, in the Southwest of the USA, you mean? Yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah. I'm from Florida, man. Trust me. We got super crazy high bills. Even here in Merida, Yucatan, in this part of Mexico, it's very hot. I mean, it's the same weather as you guys, So it's very hot. So we gotta right now. Even though it's raining outside and it's cooler, I still gotta have the air conditioner on. You know what I mean? Just to make sure that I'm not sweating too much. I gotta look a little pretty for the camera here.
yeah,
I didn't wear my makeup as you guys can see, but anyways, but that's
yeah,
no. But
yeah. No, I,
so there are a lot of positives. So okay, when you were talking about the language, so it's a bilingual country, Spanish and Guayanin. Do they speak English there? I mean, just asking as
very,
a barely.
very. Had a couple girls who speak English, but
Okay,
yeah,
so that's the thing. So like moving out there, that's something to consider that if you don't speak any Spanish, it's going to be a lot more difficult than Mexico, right?
But I will say, historically, Paraguay has very good relations with foreigners.
Okay,
We actually stand out in South America. I'm not
okay,
sure about Central America, but we stand out as arguably, and I've heard this from folks who have been all around the world. We're one of the most, if not the most, hospitable nations in this hemisphere and even the world.
Oh
Uh,
wow. Okay, that's cool. That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for you guys? So that means that like people will be patient. If you're dating down here, women will be patient. Now, patience runs out if you're dating. Like you have to be making the effort to learn the language. I'm not saying like use a translation app forever. Like take the steps on a daily basis to learn. But they're more patient than like a lot of surrounding countries. I've been to Buenos Aires. They don't
Yeah,
fucking know what they're
Argentina's
saying.
another level. Yeah, there's something else. I love our Argentinian brothers over there, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's something else, that's for sure. But yeah, that because that's another thing too. It's to me, it's cool because like a lot of people love a lot of things about Argentina, but there's a lot of things they don't like about Argentina. But you're close enough where there's a lot of similarities in the culture. Meaning, I saw you drinking your mate, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. In the video that you were in the in the grocery store, I noticed that they had so much meat. So I'm sure it's a big meat eating country. But a lot of carnivores over there, just like in Argentina, Uruguay, that region. So there's a lot of similarities, and things like that. One of the benefits is that it's very hot because you go to Argentina, it's pretty cold, right? Because again, they're right next to freaking Antarctica, right? That's all surprised that you were so hot down there, but at the same time, not so much because you're kind of like where South Africa is, right? I guess, like,
Yes,
yeah,
South Africa, Australia,
yeah.
Fiji. We're on the same yeah, horizontal axis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And so, even though it gets hot and it's a landlocked country, you said you have a lot of rivers, a lot of lakes,
Yes.
a lot of places to cool down. People love to go and spend the day at the lake, have barbecues, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like even I mean, house prices are. I won't get too much into this unless you want me to, but like cheap house prices and pools, like they're very, very cheap to build. Like I'm talking like $5,000, maybe not even that much. Especially if you want like a little tinier one, a little fountain or something.
Wow,
But
really
yeah,
that
I mean,
cheap to buy what is it, to build a home or?
a pool.
Oh, a
I mean,
pool. Okay, okay, okay,
you
okay,
can
okay.
get
Yeah, yeah.
you can get like tiny, nice little modern homes in um Barrios Cerrados. What? God damn it.
Well, I mean, you were just saying the house right next.
Close off neighborhoods.
Oh yeah, yeah, the
And
privadas or the HOAs or the whatchamacallit, the yeah, yeah, the private communities, the private
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're building them everywhere right now. So like you can get those from like 30,000 to like 80,000, and then
Wow.
obviously you can step up more
Yeah,
than
yeah.
that. You can get a beautiful duplex like I'm living in for around 80. But this is only that much because I do live in a strategic place in the city. So if I were to get out, it would be even cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, because you live closer to
But
you're closer to downtown, I'm guessing, right? To the area where you're at.
yeah, and like downtown, this place would maybe be, I don't know, 100 or 120 or something for the exact same thing. Just to give people an idea, I mean, because a lot of people do hit me up for that stuff. Because they are priced out in America or in
Yeah.
Canada or in Europe
Yeah,
or in
yeah. Yeah,
Australia,
yeah.
and it's just a lot of people are fed up, especially younger generations. I know that I am.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was
Well, so am I. So is most of the people in the audience that are still listening right now. So yeah, real quick, that brings up another thing because a lot of the reasons that we are leaving our countries, most Americans or Canadians, Europeans, whatever, most people leaving these days is because of safety. And Mexico is pretty safe. A lot safer than what I was told it would be. There are pockets that are, pretty hairy out here in Mexico, but Paraguay, it doesn't seem like it's dangerous over there. I mean, but what, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just outside observer. So how's the safety in Paraguay? How are things like, you have to worry about that again, because you come from Wisconsin and I know it's safe up there. You know what I mean? Not like Miami or LA and things like that. Okay. Oh, okay. So you say, it's still.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many aspects to this, but I guess in general, and well, even statistically, Paraguay is one of the safest countries when it comes to South America. It's even on par with like a Costa Rica. So just to give you an idea, and so Yeah, petty crime's a thing. Petty crime is a thing everywhere in Latin America. You're not going to escape that. I mean, petty
Yeah,
crime's a thing in
it's
Europe.
everywhere. No, yeah, but I meant I guess like big crime.
Yeah.
A typical
So
American, or European. Look, right now in Europe, people are getting stabbed all over the place. Things are kind
yeah,
of crazy out there. So meaning, is it safe or
yeah,
is it like how it is back home? I guess that's more.
yeah.
No,
As long,
pickpockets are everywhere and all that stuff.
yeah,
Common sense, right? Yeah.
as long as you're smart, as long as I even take a little bit more chances going out and filming, like even around here, whatever, like whatever. But I don't care because I'll put myself in that situation. But and I end up blend in a little bit more. Man, I got my American style and all that, but whatever. Until I open my mouth. but but no, in general, it is very safe. And in fact, like it's even safer than the bigger surrounding countries. Like Brazil is. Oh man, it can be dicey. There's huge favelas in some places in Argentina too. We have tiny little slums, like they're mostly on the rivers. But as if you go in there, well, I don't even know why you'd go in there, but if you do want to, like, number one, locals are going to tell you, hey, be careful, put everything away. Like they're going to warn you before you even like step foot into some neighborhoods. And but like in a working, I live in a working class neighborhood, and I feel very safe. Like there's young women who get off the buses here and walk 5 blocks to their house. So I mean, don't be out here at crazy hours of the night because the chess bees come out, which is like the yeah the I don't know, the what would I guess homeless, the closest thing I could call them. Yeah, and so like just be smart. But if you're smart and you're respectful, and not only that, but if you start knowing your neighbors too, they're gonna look out for you too. They're gonna look out like, hey, we got a new person on the block. If we see anything like shady going on around their house, hey, we're gonna let them know.
Yeah, so
And
basic safety precautions, basically, and obviously, certain neighborhoods, because I was surprised, the capital city is like over 3 million people, so it's pretty big. There's a lot of people out there, and obviously they're going to be rougher neighborhoods and safer neighborhoods, but just in the totality, I guess, it is pretty safe. Kind of like
yeah,
again the misconceptions that a lot of people have of South America, Mexico, whatever country out there, that for the most part, it's actually pretty safe except if you go to certain little areas, just like like anything else.
yeah, 95% of our cities are safe, except for the one exception, which is north of Ciudad del Este, which is the Brazilian Paraguayan border.
Okay.
And there's a specific city called Pedro Juan Caballero that you should stay clear far from, because that's where
Okay.
all the narco activity goes down.
Right.
But in Asuncion and the whole metro area, I mean, you're talking safety. Just don't be stupid.
Yeah.
Just but you're gonna be fine. Like you really truly are. And if you don't believe me, literally ask everybody else who comes down here. They put it on par with any place. And you know what the best thing too is down here is like I will bring up America, but like there's not the senseless violence.
Yeah.
There might be like robberies born out of necessity, out of poverty, or something like that, but you don't have to worry about getting shot up going to the mall.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and look, and even a robbery, you know what I mean? Like again, even the things that happen out here, or again, most of our countries, it's they're just trying to, again, they need to eat, they need, they just need, your cell phone, whatever. They're not trying to kill you, they're not trying to do any senseless, extra crime, they just, hey, you got a few extra bucks, you gotta, that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So even if they rob you, that's all they're gonna do, and that's the thing, it's not. They're not going to take it that extra level. I don't know, maybe in Paraguay, or maybe in rougher neighborhoods out there. But for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, and I will say too, just lastly, that locals don't like crime, and in
Right,
fact, there's something called street justice. A
right,
lot of
right.
Americans don't know what that means, but like, look, man, and I've heard stories too, like if somebody has like even their phone robbed or something like that, by like somebody on a bike, there'll be neighbors who come out like,
Yeah, yeah.
and they'll try to stop 'em. And or if something worse were to go down, ooh man, like I know like Colombia has a lot of stories like that, but we do
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Same here. Because the thing is, it's like the cops don't do anything, which is good and bad. So in some situations when you need them, they're not going to do anything. So guess what? The neighborhoods has to do something, and the neighborhood is invested in something that might have happened to you, a neighbor, because well, that means that it's probably going to happen to them if they're not protected. They're not protecting their neighborhood, and so yeah, if they can catch the guy, they'll lynch him. What I'm saying, like they'll the street justice. Like depending on the crime will depend on the punishment. But yeah, no, you kidding me? Yeah, they don't, and they don't
Yeah,
even call the cops many times. Yeah,
locals don't like crime,
right, right,
and
right,
they'll tell you that straight up. They
right.
don't like theft, they don't like anything like that. So
Oh, that's
yeah, so
awesome. Yeah,
they're
that's
on your
good.
side. They're on
Yeah.
your side. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's good to hear. Again, it's safe. The weather, how nice it is, and again, I was watching a bunch of again a few of your videos, and I noticed that there's also like a bunch of touristy stuff out there. Not touristy stuff, but like really cool stuff. Like I saw you went through an area that had like a lot of barro, like pottery. And so
Yep.
like they make a lot of like artisanal stuff there and a lot of cool stuff there. So like what is Paraguay known for? I mean, what are the things that make Paraguay awesome?
Ooh, quite a bit actually. I
Okay.
mean, we're very much artisans. We're very much a musicals country. Lots of our own music, and any kind of art you could possibly think of, whether it's pottery, whether it's wood making, whether it's I mean, anything. Paraguayans like get it out the mud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I know you know this too, but like a lot of people look at our countries like, oh yeah, we're poor on paper, but you guys gotta understand, your average Paraguayan is a fucking A-class entrepreneur. I'm not talking about 500 Fortune 500 companies, but your average person down here knows how to sell something, knows how to make something, or knows how to provide a service and fucking start something tomorrow. Like you're stressing that if you lose their job, they're gonna be like, oh well, fuck it, we're just gonna do this now. You know what
Yeah,
I
in
mean?
fact, yeah. If anything, they'll be like, "Hey, you want a job? You can come work for me, right?"
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's. That's one of the coolest things in Latin America. Like we're all so stressed in our Western countries, and like if something goes even a little bit wrong, we're just like, oh my god. Other people are able to internalize and deal with issues way better than we are. Just in general, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If something goes wrong, we think it's the absolute end of the world, and like they'll just whatever they'll have a good attitude about it, and they'll just figure it out. I mean, historically, that's what we've always done. We were
Yeah.
almost eliminated off the map by Argentina and Brazil in the Triple Alliance War. So we've had a historical struggle, and that's talked about through our songs and stuff, and like so everybody's like just like, oh shit, my ancestors had it worse, so fuck it, we're gonna do something about it.
Right,
You're,
right.
you're not gonna hear too much complaining, and I'm not trying to be all like uh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because like that, yeah, I mean it's so different, right? Because like I hear that a lot, or our generation hears that a lot from the older generations in the U.S., and it's just really gaslighting stuff, right? Like, oh well, why can't you just buy that house? It's like, well, have you seen the price? you know, why don't you just start that family? What's the price of raising the kid nowadays in the U.S.? So I'm not trying to be like that, but I will say though that like the way people deal with stuff down here is it's incredible, in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's from my experience is the fact that first of all, most of us, most of our, cultures, our parents, our grandparents, we're just used to the struggle, and we're constantly, making sure we don't forget the struggle. You know what I mean? Our parents, our culture, they're always reminding us, in one shape, form, or another. So it's always that constant thing. But on top of that, again, as an American, man, remember I was born and raised out there, you know what I mean? And you were raised in the USA, so you know how it is. The reality is that it just makes it extremely difficult. The what was it, like the bar to entry, is extremely high in the USA, where in Mexico or Paraguay or basically any Latin American country, it's like, okay, let's say that someone in Paraguay is working a job and they get fired tomorrow. Listen, they'll be working that same afternoon. You know what I mean? That they get fired. They can just start up, selling, food, or selling, artisanal stuff or whatever it is. They play guitar. They can just go to the local bar, and just, the point is that they're used to, we're used to struggle. We're more entrepreneurial minded. We're not, we don't have a government or system or something that can bail us out. So people just have to be resourceful. They have to figure it out. But on top of that, neither one of these people, the guy that all of a sudden lost his job and he's selling pancakes on Facebook Marketplace, he's not going to get arrested, for selling pancakes on in the USA, you already know. You can't even give food away to to the homeless in the USA without getting arrested. So it's a different animal out here. You're not going to get harassed, by the police, by authority, by government, by anything, when all you're trying to do is, put food on the table, and as long as you're doing it, especially if you're doing it legally, and all those are legal ways, when you're doing just a regular business. But in the USA, it just takes it to another level. Not just the USA, Canada, Europe. You already know all these rules and regulations and barriers to entry. I mean, come on. In the USA, they knock down, lemonade stands, by 5-year-olds. I mean. Give me a break. I mean, don't get me started either, okay, on that whole thing. But the point is, I think that's what it is, in our own countries. And so, since the people have that ability, to basically, again, what is it, lift themselves up on the bootstraps or whatever, they do so out here. But in the USA, we don't have that ability anymore. It's not that we don't want to work. It's just that we don't want to be. You get what I'm saying? We don't want a horrible future, okay? Or we don't want to just, I'm trying to avoid the word, but wage slaves, okay? That's what most people are in the USA these days, and the first world and all that stuff. And more people, we just want a simple life. And it doesn't matter what your background is or who you're from, where you're from. Some people have big ambitions. They want to make big money. That's great. That's wonderful. But not everybody. Some people, just like you and me, we just want a simple life. A lot of people in the audience just want a simple life. And it doesn't mean that, simple life does not mean broken poor. Simple life does not mean I'm not going to work. No, it just means, I don't want to be, worrying about all these things that we worry about in the USA all the time. For absolutely no reason. We're just work to barely keep up with the bills. That's not, that's very rare to see in Latin America. You have to put yourself in that situation. Out here, again, you can lift yourself up from the bootstraps, and most people do. And that's also very inspiring, very motivational. It makes you feel like a bum, because it's like, you see everybody else, hustling, working, doing all this stuff. And for me, I like it. I love it. I love that kind of energy. And the fact that anybody can do it, again, I don't know what the laws are in Paraguay, but at least in Mexico, they're pretty relaxed when it comes to that. Even a foreigner can come out here, start a small business, and do their thing, and they're not going to get really too harassed. How is it in Paraguay? Is it the same thing? Could you start well, yeah, you have already. I mean, you're right. I mean, don't you do stuff with real estate? Don't you, right?
Yeah. So yeah, in general, it's exactly like you said. It's very relaxed. Like, for example, if I were to do something as unofficial as I could start a piece of business tomorrow, I could just start making them in my house, start selling them, and nobody would say a fucking thing. Now, if I started bringing people under me, then yeah, I would have to get a root number or something like that, and then pay them and make sure. But even then, as long as I'm treating them good and I'm paying them, you're part of the unofficial economy. Right, it's until you start growing to certain levels that they're gonna want you to become part of the official economy, get your tax, whatever, or a business ID number, whatever. Even that is really simple shit.
Yeah.
Like in the U.S., if you're to do a restaurant or a bar, you're talking I mean, a whole list of shit you need to take care of.
Okay, so basically, it's very similar too. Basically, I mean, you can start selling pizzas, and no one's gonna say anything or bat an eye until you grow big enough or you've been doing it for long enough. Yeah. Where maybe someone will be like, "Hey, do you have a business license? Are you paying taxes?" And you'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know I had to do that." All right, here's the paperwork. Go fill out. Right? Same kind of. They're not really. Maybe you can even pay off the inspector. To give you an extra month. Or whatever. But
my neighbors have bodegas. Every 3 houses they're selling something. There's a chicken lady who sells chickens down the street. And she just put up a sign. I do this, and I have whatever else, and that's how she lives. And then,
it's free and open. So
there's who are fitness trainers out of their houses.
Yeah,
there's you can do a damn near anything, and if you start growing, you start becoming a corporation, you start hiring people and a lot of people, then yeah, you're gonna have to take extra steps. But even those are super simple, especially if you just like hire a lawyer and accountant, which is affordable stuff down here. Like, you're talking just a couple $100 to get like
Yeah,
for them to do the correct things on your behalf, and you're good to go.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
wait a couple weeks, and then you're fucking perfect. And then you don't pay any more than 10% taxes when you do anything like that down here. It's one of the lowest tax countries. And in fact, I will say too about Paraguay that I should have brought up in the beginning, but if you're making any kind of foreign income, we're one of the few countries in the world who will not tax your foreign income, not one penny, right? But if you start becoming, like, for me, if I want to become an English professor, which I actually might go down that path, but if I were to do that, then obviously I'm going to be paid by the government or by some entity, and then that's when I'll have to start reporting taxes. But this no more than 10%. You know how much I pay in the U.S.? Like fucking 30 to 40. You know what I mean? So, and what
Yeah.
the fuck do I get out of that? Huh? Last time I checked, nothing.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know,
More
I
missiles
mean,
out, more war, more this, more that,
yeah,
everything except what we need, right? But yeah, yeah, like, at the end of the day, it's a lot more relaxed, when it comes, for all that stuff. And so I think that's why you see so much less stress, amongst the people out here, because they're not really stressing, they really, if it boils down to it, they can just sell some sandwiches, for a few days, to make a few bucks, and anybody can, live off of that or live off of anything, you know what I mean? Like you said, live, have a small business in their home, and just build from it. Look, I'm sure it's the same thing over there. Look, I've met plenty of people that are professionals out here, professional whatever, and they just did that for the money, but they always did their hobby on the side, but their hobby just grew into a business, and eventually they're like, all right, I'm going to stop being a banker or a lawyer or whatever. I'm going to now be a mechanic, or I'm now going to be or whatever it is, and that's the beauty of it. We're in the USA. It's those are all pipe dreams. It's more about, you got to work, and it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. Most likely, you're not going to like it. You're going to hate what you do, and then, hopefully retire at 67, right? With a measly retirement check, and pray, that's going to be enough. So, but anyways, I want to ask you something real quick, because this is something that people ask me a lot. On my channel, so I'm sure that people ask you as well on your channel, which is talking about residency. How difficult or how easy is it for a foreigner to get residency in Mexico? I mean, in Paraguay, because I know for you it was easy because, well, you're from Paraguay, so you're a citizen. But let's say me, I'm a Cuban American, and I want to go live in Paraguay. Is it hard? Is it difficult, or how does that work?
no, well, no, well, sort of. It's one of the easiest in the world, right? Are there still steps and money? Yeah. Um, so yeah, in my case, I was able to jump to permanent. That's not most people's cases if you don't have familial ties or a birth certificate or whatever. So now the process is in the last 2 years that you have to do temporary residency, and then 2 years later you come back and then get permanent. Um, I know that there's a lot of lawyers who charge a lot, or a lot of relocation services
But
kind of.
real quick, how hard is it to get residency, like even temporary residency? Meaning, because look, in Mexico, it's a whole debate, and I don't know
Not
how
hard
it
at
is in
all.
Paraguay, but meaning, is there like a income threshold, or
No.
what? Okay, so can you go a
Yeah.
little deeper into that, or whatever you know about that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So temporary residency, pretty much you're just gonna be either doing the legwork by yourself. And I actually just met a Canadian who did it, and he just told me he even went to the Interpol buildings. Him, his dad, and his sister. And then there's like government fees that you pay, and they average $500 a person. That's if you do the legwork by yourself. Most people will go through a relocation service or a lawyer or something. Like, I went through a lawyer, and they can expedite a lot of this stuff for you, and do it on your behalf, especially if you sign a what is it? I forget. Whatever. So they're able to do things on your behalf, and so that's when it gets really easy. And it's yeah. There's as far as requirements, birth certificate. If you're married, then a marriage certificate, and FBI federal background check. That's literally it. Those are the three things that you need. And then
Okay.
you have to come down here in person, and then you'll apply or have them do all that work for you. You turn that stuff in. You don't even have to get it translated. That's part of the stuff that they do for you because you have to get it translated by
Okay.
official translators down here in Paraguay.
Do you have to get documents apostilled?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Every so yeah, so if you're
Oh,
coming from
okay.
the U.S., you can get your birth certificate apostilled by your state. The FBI thing is apostilled by the federal government, which is the most tedious thing because you fingerprints first, wait till those come back, send that PDF if you want to a third party, or no, then you send. I think then you send that application back, whatever, you get that, and then it might take a few weeks. If you want it expedited, you can pay a third party service so they can get it a little bit faster back to you. But, anyways, have that in hand by the time you get down here. Start this process a good 2 months in advance before you come down here to get these apostille documents. And then once you're down here, it's pretty easy. So yeah, as far as like other requirements, no, which is really good. Now this could change 5, 10 years from now, especially if there's millions of people trying to come in. But at least from now.
Especially once your channel hits 1 million subscribers, right after this interview, and you get everybody to move
Woo!
down there. Nobody moves to Mexico anymore; they all move there. No, but I actually did a video a while back on my channel. With Apostle USA, this company that does this stuff. And I remember in that video, he was talking about the FBI background checks. And I was like, really? Countries ask for that? I had no idea. And so I guess, there you go. Paraguay is one of those countries that ask for that because they don't ask for FBI background check in Mexico. But, they ask for other things. They ask for income. They ask for, certain things. But in Paraguay, they don't care about how much you're making. It's more about, they want to make sure that, you can pass an FBI background check.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, to keep it safe, yeah, right? No, but anyways, but it's pretty simple. Basically, so anyone can just show up on a tourist visa, I guess, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, tourist visas last I think 3 months.
Okay, and then at some point they either get another tourist visa or transition to a temporary residency. But it's pretty quick from what from you're saying. It's not difficult like in other countries. Other countries are a lot more difficult. Look, all bureaucracy takes time. It's all a pain in the butt. There's money to be paid. All that stuff. But what I mean is that there are some countries that have thresholds. Or they just make it more difficult than others. But it seems like Paraguay is pretty easy.
Yeah, yeah, especially compared to other countries. Like
Right.
Argentina is, you have to be there for a very significant amount of time
Right.
on the ground, like months. Uruguay, I believe, is the same. Brazil is very difficult nowadays. So Paraguay is making most sense for a lot of people. And a couple other things I will say about residency. If you guys go down this path about for paying people, do not spend over like 3 to 4 thousand. There are guys who will get you to pay so goddamn much, and do not do it. Uh, yeah, I know how the prices work. I mean, try to pay 2, 3 thousand, even less. If you can. If you want to do the legwork yourself, go to the things yourself. Follow the right channels. I don't have all that info on my channel yet, but you can do some of that. You can get lawyers to expedite some of these things. What a lot of people are putting out now actually are that you have to do 2 trips here, and that's only a half truth. That's if you do the legwork yourself, and then you're going to wait on the government's time to receive your first ID. But I know that there are people who can expedite that, but you would still have to be here for a couple weeks, even if you do have a person expediting that for you. Because the old law used to be that they would be able to send your ID once they get it, send it to you by your behalf to you in your country that you had to go back to. Now you actually have to be here in person to receive that. So you can pay somebody to get this expedited, and hopefully within the same trip that you're down here, you can do that. Otherwise, you might have to come back a couple months later to do that if you don't pay somebody to expedite this process for you. So I did want to lay that out because that's a very new thing that's popping up all over on YouTube channels about Paraguayan residency. I did want to clarify that though, so just to let you guys know. But I think you're muted.
Um, No, but still, it's pretty great. It's pretty awesome because at the end of the day, what you were just describing is that they were even more relaxed. That they would, you could just come to Paraguay, fill out some paperwork, fly back home, and they'll send you your residency. So that's pretty relaxed. Okay, but now, okay, what you got to stay in the country for a few weeks, or months or whatever it is, in order to receive it, or come back, like you said. But yeah, but it's still very, very easy. And again, this is just your regular old Joe, or Jane, going into Paraguay, trying to get it that way. But again, there are easier ways, meaning like, let's say you get married to a Paraguayan, or, in your case, you got family ties and so on and so forth. So, but even just, again, someone from Canada, or even me, again, just a Cuban from Miami, I can go out there and get residency. It seems, as long as I just pay, was it the government fees and all that stuff. But by the way, on what you were saying about the facilitators, yeah, same thing here. And I think anywhere, it's like everything else. Be careful, and always, kind of know what the prices are. Do your homework. The more homework you do, the less likely you're going to get scammed, or you're going to get, again, taken advantage of. It happens, it happens everywhere. So just be aware of that. And I'm glad you brought that up. You know what I mean? That, there are people out there that, will probably take advantage of you by charging you too much, for something that doesn't, that others charge a lot less for, and probably can do a better job, or whatever it is, so.
Yeah, if I could really just quick mention too. So like they'll, in my case, right? I started by looking through some of these services or whatnot, and 4 different people could not promise me permanent residency, even though I had a birth certificate here and familial ties. They all said, you can't do it. I'm over here like, I can do it. Right. So I just went through a family friend's lawyer, right? And then that's the guy who I worked with, and he got me permanent residency. Within a week, I had my ID.
And I want to ask you, because like, again, you were born in Paraguay, so how come you're not a citizen? Or
you once you're adopted, you're a naturalized citizen of the USA's, and then you at least in that time, I don't know anymore, but you would lose your citizenship.
Oh, I did not know that. Well, I mean, it had something to do with I'm sure the regime change and things like that. Again, I listened to your story a little bit. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, because in Cuba it's the same thing. It's funny, things have changed, but like in Cuba, when my family left Cuba, with Fidel Castro, stuff like that, it was basically like, yeah, you leave, you leave Cuba and you go to the USA. That's it. You renounce your Cuban citizenship. But most Cubans are like, yeah, okay, good, keep it. We don't want that. But now it's funny because my family has gone back to visit, and now they're forcing them to get their citizenship again. And my aunt was a little like a little wary of getting her Cuban citizenship, and then going back, and maybe they say, hey, you're gonna have to stay now, you can't go back to Miami. But anyways, long story short, okay, that makes a lot more sense. So you lost your citizenship, and so now you got to go and you got to go the traditional way, I guess, like everybody else. Like even me here, you gotta go through the traditional way to get your Paraguayan citizenship, because you gotta take the test and the whole thing, right? To get you want to get your Paraguayan citizenship, or?
So I technically I'm a permanent resident. Technically, so at least in my understanding, it's gonna transition into citizenship regardless. And
okay.
that's just how it works down here.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Now you need to be a little bit careful because international laws on the Paraguayan side, they don't exactly recognize dual citizens. But I mean, that's if you're doing like extra stuff. If
Sure.
you're just a normal person, they don't give a shit.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure I could get my passport if I needed to. I don't need it right now. I have my American passport that's good for 10 years. I'll just keep using that to go back home. And I'm not that big of a world traveler yet, besides just coming here. So that's not the biggest thing. I know I've gotten that question a couple times. It's I think you can, but just be careful. Because international laws are changing, just like local laws, etc. So just if you watch this video months from now or something like that, then just beyond the newest information.
Well, so I want to follow up on that. So okay, let's say that you go to Paraguay, and at some point you'll become a Paraguayan citizen, but you'll
Uh-huh.
also be a U.S. citizen. So the government just doesn't recognize your U.S. citizenship. That's it, right? It doesn't. Is that what it has that, or is it more deep than that?
Uh,
You don't know?
yeah, like I guess technically, and then I mean, for what would it even matter? Like I don't know.
Right.
It's difficult. Like they're gonna give it to you,
Yeah.
but like maybe like voting or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's just they just don't recognize because again what do they care? I mean, look, I know some countries some countries will not allow you. Let's say you or again I don't know the countries, but I know there's some countries that you're a citizen of that country and they don't allow you to get other citizenships without
yeah,
renouncing their citizenship. But I don't think I think it's more like what they just don't recognize that you might have another passport or another citizenship. If you're Paraguayan, according to them, you're Paraguayan, and that's it. I mean, look, in the
yeah.
U.S. as well. I mean, don't get it twisted because I found this found this out the hard way. If we as U.S. citizens go back into the USA, we got to go back with our U.S. passport. We can't use another passport. That's not kosher. And you know how the U.S. is. You know what I mean? Though, yeah, don't be breaking laws over there. Because. But yeah, I've heard of people that have gone in by mistake. With another passport, but they have a U.S. passport, but they go back into the USA, and then that causes trouble too. So, but yeah, again, that's a whole other subject for another day on another video. Talking about this for anyone that cares. But yeah, be careful out there. It's not that easy because I know again dual citizenships here, and when they go back to the USA, they got to use the right passport, go through the right place, the right lane at the airport, or they can get in major trouble. And same thing when returning to Mexico. So I'm guessing it's the same thing in Paraguay, only maybe more strict.
Yeah. Like, well, for example, like since I already had my at least coming here to Paraguay, I actually was able your ID card, your cedula.
Yeah.
That's what I actually showed. Well, I showed both, I guess. I showed them my U.S. passport and my cedula, and they're okay. You can stay as long as you want.
Yeah.
You're a permanent resident. Otherwise they would be like they would have to stamp it. Oh, you have to get out within 90 days or whatever it is. But no, that wasn't my case because they saw that, okay, yeah. And then they just asked me, where's your residence? I have my lawyer's residence there, and then I'm good to go. And then, I stay here as long as I want. And, even the whole USA passport thing. Well, number one, there's a embassy down here in Asuncion. USA and Paraguay are like this, just so if people
Okay.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So like on screen, yeah, he's basically we went like this. Okay. Meaning that they're really, really, really close. Paraguay and the USA.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very close historical ties. It goes back a long time. I won't get into it, but very good relations too with Paraguay and the
Okay.
USA. So you can go to the embassy for anything. If you have any questions, you can hit them up, email them, whatever.
Awesome.
They'll let you know. I think you can even get your passport renewed and stuff in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
embassy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, you're gonna be
Okay.
fine. And yeah, whatever, just follow rules and live your life, and you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, that's it.
You're-
One last question. I got one more question since you were touching on that. How easy or difficult is it for people returning to the USA or flying from the USA to get to Panama? Because again, it's kind of like a little bit out of the way, down deep in South America. So is it like how long of a flight is it to get to the USA, or what kind of flights? Like how difficult is it to get there? By plane, or because I think by plane, right? That's probably the only way to get to Paraguay, right?
yeah, there
Yeah.
used to be pre-COVID flights from Miami and I think even Houston that would come down to Asuncion. But nowadays, there's no direct flights from the U.S. So
Okay.
you have to go through a Panama, a Colombia, a Brazil before you get to Asuncion, unfortunately.
Okay.
And in my case, I would fly from Chicago to Panama City to Asuncion. So the flight from Chicago to Panama City about 6.5 hours, 7 hours, and yeah, like something like that, 6 hours. And the other flight is about 7 hours.
Wow.
So you're talking 13 hours in total flight time.
Wow. Yeah.
If you go through Copa, which I always go through Copa, you're gonna have a short little layover, a couple hours, but on the way back, you're most likely gonna have like a 7 hour layover.
Mm.
Um, so it used to be more than that, but it's not the worst. And I really like Panama because You don't have to like Mexico. You have to go through customs no matter what, even if you're just catching a connection flight, which is, oh my god,
Yeah. And
man.
Mexico City
Mexico
is next level horrible. Or Mexico City Airport, yeah,
Oh
horrible.
god, it's terrible. It's terrible. But Panama, you just get off the flight, you go something to eat. If you're gonna be in the concierge, you go up there to fuck around for a little bit, get a
Yeah.
drink, and then you're on your next plane.
Oh,
It's
okay. So
super.
yeah, it's just basically like any connection in the USA, like Miami, Dallas, Seattle, whatever. Just
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, you don't even leave. Okay,
I
cool.
love Panama. I've been
Okay,
through Sao Paulo, Mexico City, and
nice.
those are headaches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, it's not that bad, outside of the long flight, because I mean, again, I just had a family member go to Japan recently, and it's like 14 hours. It's like shit, man.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just did I mean, it's 13 hours, for you, yeah. So it's a long
But that's
flight.
a direct flight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Okay, cool. So yeah, man. Hey, look, we could go on and on forever. We had a really really awesome conversation, awesome interview. I really hope that the people in the audience, were able to watch all the way through and get some, information out of this video, some knowledge out of this video. Hopefully, it was very helpful to them. Whatever their plans are, wherever they, think of going or whatever the situation is. And again, guys, please, I want to ask you guys a big favor out there in the audience. If you really enjoyed the video, enjoyed, everything that, Ryan had to say, go check out his channel. Go out to his channel, My Best Life Paraguay. I got all the links down below. You already know. And go over there and check it out. Check out his channel. Again, you don't have to be moving to Paraguay, but I'm sure, you'll find a lot of, interesting information out there and knowledge, just like you get from my channel. So go over there to his channel, subscribe, like, do all that stuff, watch some of his videos, leave some comments. You already know all that stuff. And by the way, and if you enjoyed this, video, do the same. I want to give a big shout out to all the patrons, all the, all the contributors, everyone out there. You know who you are. I'm gonna give a big shout out and a big thank you to all of you. And before I head out, Ryan, do you have any last words? You wanted to say anything else before we dip? Before we head out of here?
Yeah. I guess I'll just bring it back to like when I felt stuck in the United States and like I was just at a super crossroads, and I was just like, look, I can continue doing the same thing, or I could take a chance in life, and I just hit 100 days down here. It's a pretty special video, highly edited video with I started out with the Anthony Bourdain quote, then I go in and try to see how my life is related to some of the things he has to say. And it's a journey. It's a journey before you even touch down, but then when you touch down, it's a whole nother journey by itself, as you know. But if you're feeling stuck, just look what's out there. Look for countries that make sense. Don't just look for degenerate places and stuff that whatever you can, the Medellins of the world. And it used to not be that way, but unfortunately it is now. But set yourself up for a long term. Actually, I will say that too. This is one of your best retirement plans you could ever do for yourself. Even if you're a younger guy, you're maybe not thinking about this too hard, but like, okay, you have it in your back pocket, and then you're just coming down here, especially if you get a $30,000 little house or whatever, man, you're good to go. You can live off of, you can even live off of Social Security, believe it or not. And especially if you have a pension or anything like that, you're good to go. But yeah, just have the courage to make the changes. Follow channels like Jose's, like mine, to see people who have actually done it. Don't just follow dumb shit in the US or whatever, prankster videos or whatever. Like follow people who have done it, see their mindset, see the steps they've taken. And yeah, just have the courage to follow through and then it'll be the best thing you've ever done for yourself.
That's awesome, man. Well said, man. I couldn't have put it better myself. So with all that being said, again, big shout out to Ryan and his channel. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, thank you guys out there in the audience for, watching the whole video, and hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, you already know what to do. Don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. Bye.
See you later.